morning that changed everything. The small, white pregnancy test sat there on the cold bathroom counter, resting right between us. It felt like it did not even belong to our life. It looked like something from a movie or a story about someone else. The room felt very small, and the air was chilly against our skin. My wife, Lauren, could not bring herself to look at me. She just kept her eyes on the floor, looking at the patterns on the tiles. About 3 weeks before this day, she had come back from a trip that she said was just for her and her girlfriends. She needed a break, she had said, and I wanted her to be happy. But ever since she walked back into our home, she had been acting very strange. She stopped talking to me like she used to. We used to share everything about our day, but now there was only silence. She was not sleeping well at night, tossing and turning until the sun came up. I would hear the bed creak as she moved, but she never reached out for my hand. Every single time her phone made a sound or vibrated on the table, she would jump as if she were scared of a ghost. She would grab the phone and hide the screen from my view. That morning, she finally spoke. Her voice was very small, like a child's. She whispered the words that changed our lives forever. She told me, "I am pregnant." At first, I just stood there. I actually had a small smile on my face because I was so shocked and confused. For so many years, we had talked about having a baby. It was a dream we shared every time we saw a stroller in the park. But then, she slowly shook her head. Big tears started to roll down her face before I could even move to give her a hug. She looked at me with eyes full of a deep, dark sadness and said, "It is not yours." The whole room went completely silent. It felt like the air had been sucked out of the house. My mind started moving very fast with 100 different questions. I wondered who and where and why, but I could not say a single word. My throat felt tight. Hashtag finding peace in the kitchen. Instead of getting mad right then, I walked into the kitchen. I needed to move. I picked up a glass and poured myself some cold water. I watched the bubbles rise in the glass. I stood by the window and looked out at the trees until I could think with a clear head. The leaves were moving in the wind, and for a moment, the world outside looked so normal and peaceful. When I finally went back to her, I asked just one simple thing. I asked, "Does the other man know?" Lauren's face turned very white, like a sheet of paper. She looked surprised. She did not think that would be the first thing I would want to know. I think she expected me to shout or break something. Lauren sat down in a chair and held on to the edge of the table very tightly. It looked like she was afraid she would fall over if she let go. In a very quiet voice, she told me, "No, he does not even know I am having a baby." She began to explain what happened. She said that while she was on her trip, she made some very bad choices that she hated herself for almost immediately. She described it as a moment where she lost herself. She had tried to tell herself that she could just hide the truth forever. She thought she could save our marriage by acting like nothing ever happened, hoping the secret would just stay buried in the past. But every day she was home, that secret felt like a heavy weight on her chest. It was like carrying a giant rock everywhere she went. It got heavier and heavier until she just could not carry it anymore. I sat there and listened to everything she said. I did not stop her once. I let her speak until she had no more words left. I felt very angry deep down, but I also felt like I could see things very clearly for the first time. The fog of the last 3 weeks was gone. Hashtag the folder on the table once she was done talking. I stood up. I went to my desk in the other room and grabbed a folder I had ready. I had known something was wrong for a while, and I wanted to be prepared for any truth. I walked back and put it gently on the table in front of her. She looked at the folder and looked very confused. Her hands were still shaking. She asked me what it was. I looked her right in the eyes and stayed calm. I told her that inside that folder was a list of family lawyers who could help us. These were people known for being fair and kind. There were also papers about our money and our bank accounts, so everything would be open and clear. I even put in a phone number for a kind person who helps people talk through their feelings, a talk helper who could guide her through the coming months. I told her that I was not trying to ruin her life or make things harder than they already were. I told her I was there to end our marriage with honesty. I said that honesty was the only thing we did not have anymore, and I wanted to finish things the right way, with our heads held high. Lauren just stared at that folder. She was too afraid to open it at first. Her voice was shaking when she asked why I was not yelling at her or calling her names. I slowly shook my head. I told her that I was trying very hard to not make big choices based only on my anger. Anger is a fire, and I did not want to burn everything down. More tears ran down her cheeks. She kept saying how sorry she was, her voice breaking with every word. I truly believed that she was sorry. I could see the pain on her face and the regret in her eyes. But feeling sorry and being able to trust someone are not the same thing. One is a feeling, and the other is the floor you stand on. I told her quietly that this was not about trying to hurt her or punish her. It was about accepting a sad truth. The marriage we had built was gone. The promises we made to each other did not exist in that way anymore. She put her head down. She realized that my being calm and accepting the end actually hurt more than if I had been screaming. The silence between us was not just empty space. It was a sound of the future we had planned together, the house we wanted and the life we imagined, slowly fading away like a dream you forget when you wake up. Hashtag, hashtag, hashtag a letter for the future. After a few minutes, Lauren finally opened the folder. Inside, she saw copies of all our money records and information on how to separate our lives without fighting. Resting on the very top was a note I had written by hand. Her hands were shaking as she opened it. The note said that no matter what happened next, I truly hoped that she and the baby would be healthy and okay. I told her the baby deserved a good life. But it also said that I had to look out for my own future, too. I had to protect my heart. By the time she finished reading, her tears were making the ink on the paper blurry. She looked up at me and asked if I was really thinking about the baby's health. I nodded my head. I told her that the little baby did not choose any of this. It was not the baby's fault that things went wrong. She put her face in her hands and started to cry very hard. She told me she thought I would just throw her out of the house into the street. I looked at her with a sad feeling in my heart. I told her that throwing her out would make my anger feel better for maybe one day. It would be a quick relief. But I said that handling this with respect and honor would let me live with my choices for the rest of my life. I wanted to be able to sleep at night, knowing I was a good man. For the first time since she told me the truth, she saw that the biggest punishment was not me being mad. It was losing someone who still chose to be kind even while they were walking away. Hashtag, hashtag, hashtag moving forward. Separately, Lauren folded my note very carefully and put it back in the folder. Her eyes were red and she looked so tired, like she had not slept in years. She asked me if there was anything at all she could do to fix us. I told her the truth because giving her a false hope would only make things hurt more later. I told her that if she had told me the truth the very day she got home, maybe we could have talked about how to take responsibility together. But trust does not go away just because of one talk or one mistake. It goes away because of all the little choices and lies that happened before. It was the days of pretending everything was okay that broke me. She nodded because she knew I was right. She thought about the lies about the trip and the week she spent acting like everything was fine while her phone buzzed in her pocket. I told her that I never wanted to be in this spot, and she said she never wanted to be this person either. I told her that pretending it was not happening would not change where we were. We had to face the sun. The next week, we met with our lawyers. We started the legal part of ending the marriage in a very respectful way. There was no screaming or try and make the other person look bad in front of others. We did not want to make a sad time even worse by being mean. Before we left that day, Lauren stopped me in the parking lot. The sun was bright, and there were families walking nearby. She thanked me for treating her like a real human being. She said she knew she did not deserve my kindness. I shook my head gently. I told her that kindness is not something you only give when life is easy or when people are perfect. I told her it was a choice I made because I have to look at myself in the mirror when this is all over. I have to live with me. She cried quietly, knowing that my choice to leave was not about hating her. It was about knowing that forgiving someone and staying with them are two different things. You can forgive someone and still say goodbye. I could hope for a good life for her and the child, while also knowing my own path had to go a different way. The last meeting a few months later, the divorce was almost done. The papers were almost all signed. Lauren asked to meet one last time to say a final goodbye. We went to a small coffee shop where we used to go to celebrate our anniversary. It was a place full of old memories. When I got there, she was waiting at a small table in the corner. You could really see the pregnancy now, and she moved a bit more slowly. She looked calmer, though she told me she did not want to change my mind or ask for a second chance. She just wanted to say sorry without wanting anything back. She wanted to say it clearly. I thanked her and told her I heard her. She told me the hardest part was not the idea of being a single parent, but realizing she lost the one person who always had her back through everything. I told her we all live with what we choose, and our choices make our world. I told her the most important thing now was to be the kind of mother her child could be proud of, a mother who values the truth. She nodded as tears fell into her coffee. A year later, it was all over. The papers were finished. We both started over in different homes. My friends asked why I was not mean or why I did not try to get revenge. They are always surprised that I didn't fight more. I tell them I chose to be clear and respectful because that is who I am. I chose to end things with my head held high and my heart at peace. The pregnancy was not what made me leave. It was a fact that the trust was already broken long ago, like a bridge that had been rotted out from the inside. I want her and the baby to be happy and safe. But I know that wishing someone well does not mean you have to stay in a house with no foundation. Sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is not scream or shout. Sometimes, it is just walking away quietly with your respect. No, you cannot change what happened in the past, but you can choose exactly what happens next in your own story.